into the journey and the car locking up on me for just a quick split second. It just locked up on me. The power steering just froze up and I couldn't even turn the wheel left or right. What's going on YouTube? It's the AZ392. I want to share with you guys a really funny story I had when I moved down here to Arizona from Illinois. And that's when I drove my Jeep 392 1,700 miles the entire way. And it was probably the worst mistake of my life. It took way too long. It took way too much time, effort, everything, energy, just chaos, headache. So if you guys don't know, I bought a Jeep 392 in, I think, of May 22. And right when I bought it, it was the most special car to me, guys. I mean, that thing is an absolute beast all the way around. I say this to everyone. It's unlike any driving experience you guys will ever go in. I mean, it's rowdy. The doors are thin. You can hear the entire engine. It's got an awesome exhaust system straight from the factory. But I bought it, and I had around 6,000 miles at the time when I decided to come down to Arizona and move in with my parents. And it was a 1,700 mile journey. I just remember the day that I made the decision to do it. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I packed my car up. I had the Jeep ready. I did like a full service to it to make sure it was all good. And so I left an early morning one time at like 6 in the morning. I wanted to get 6 hours in. I knew it was gonna be 1,700 miles, so I kind of wanted to plan for around 3 days. 1,700 miles divided into 3 days. So the first day I was gonna do it, altogether it was gonna be a 25-hour journey. That's what the Google or my Apple Maps told me. So the first day I wanted to get 6 hours in. I had a hotel booked in Springfield, Missouri, and that's what the goal was. So we set off. I had a buddy with me at the time, and we set off at 6 in the morning. And I just remember getting like 50 miles down into the journey and the car locking up on me for just a quick split second. It just locked up on me. The power steering just froze up and I couldn't even turn the wheel left or right. So I just remember pulling off to the side, turning the car on and off, getting back on it, and then everything was fine until I'd say another 100 miles. And this is when everything kind of went bad. I remember just being at like highway speed at like 80 miles an hour and looking at the dash and everything just going off like Christmas. I mean, no AC, no power. I love my 392. I love it. Barely even brake. It's just nuts. It would say control electronic stability control service, service unavailable, power steering overheating, check system, stuff like that. So just a whole plethora of things. I was going at like 80 and there was cars to the side of me and left of me, so I had to like slow down, make sure it was like safe enough for me to pull over, get over, and like get out of the car at a safe spot. So I did all that. I turned the car off. I waited a few minutes, and I just remember talking to my buddy like, oh my God, is this gonna happen the whole way there? Because this is gonna be a nightmare. But we talked about it. We were like, oh, it's fine. We're gonna just give it another shot, and went back fine the first time. And just in my head, I remember thinking like, oh my God, what really could be wrong? This car's got 6,000 miles on it. And the only thing I was really thinking that could be wrong is when I off-roaded it, maybe some water got in to like the electronic stuff, maybe like a control module or something, or a sensor, and making the car like act funny. That was the only thing in my mind that was wrong with it. So I knew that the car was fine because it was giving me no delay. There was no loss of power to the car. Brakes, tires, everything was fine. That's why I kind of figured it was just something to do with the computer or something, because every time I'd turn it off and on again, it would work fine for a few, and then it would go and do this again. But I'll pull up some videos and stuff that I have of just all the lights coming on and off and all the problems that we're having, so you guys can see, because I wasn't recording at the time. I wish I was, because It'd be a really funny video to get that on camera again. We get another 100 miles and all those problems happen. We pull off, that happens, we get back on it, and I'm stepping on it so slowly, and then after I get to like a certain RPM range, all the problems kept happening. They did it again. All those problems kept happening again, and I was like, this is gonna be, like just a repetitive thing. And I didn't want to pull over and call a tow truck, then have to taxi myself to the airport, find a driver to come pick up the car, leave the car there with the keys until I found somebody. It would just been a whole nightmare because I was already like 2.5 hours away. And I was like, if the car's gonna make it that far, it's gonna make it the whole way. We just have to keep doing this the whole time. So that's kind of what we did. We just kept going over the same problem, pulling over, make sure it was safe. And I think the most dangerous part of the journey was just the power steering going out. And I'm so lucky, I pray to God. The roads were very clear. I didn't really have to experience any bad weather, no rain, snow, nothing like that. So no bad drivers, I can say that for sure. It was honestly and no traffic. We barely had to run into any traffic the entire time we drove, which was kind of crazy to me. I was like, oh my God, there's gonna be one point where we run into some crazy traffic. But seriously, the whole way there was no traffic, nothing happened. The only thing that was happening was the car kept breaking down. And I was like, oh my God, it kind of made me hate the car because I was like, no other car is gonna have this many problems besides a Jeep. Like a Jeep's gonna have so many problems. And I loved the car at the time. That's kind of what made me sell the car, was because we really couldn't fix those problems that happened to it. And I'll keep going with the story. But after we got to St. Louis, we had to go to Amarillo, Texas was the next stop. So it was another like 6-hour, 8-hour journey the next day. So we slept. I got in the car, I remember getting on it. And for the first couple hours, the car was acting perfectly fine. I was just cruising on it, not stepping on it. I had all the stuff in the car anyway. I didn't want to break nothing. I just remember stepping on it, getting 2 hours in, and then the same problems kept happening. And then I was like, fuck, once we get to Amarillo, Texas, we're gonna have no AC. And it's gonna be 90 degrees outside. And thankfully we had the windows that worked. But without the windows open and the power sunroof, I think we would have literally sweated to death just in the car. Just because I was so hot, and the AC was not working almost the entire time after we got into Texas. So from Texas to New Mexico to Arizona, there was no AC. And this was all like 12 hours through 3 states and 3 hot states in the middle of summer with no AC. And we just have to keep pulling over for water, making sure we had a lot of water and stuff. And the Jeep was just, a mess. Guys, so I don't want to bore you too long, but we got to Amarillo, Texas, and the car had broken down like 500 times by now. And then we got to New Mexico, and the car had broken down again with the same things. And then we got to Arizona, where our final destination was, and the car had broken down and everything. That many times. We kept doing the same thing to get there, stopping, pulling over, making sure we're safe, turning around, getting slowly back on it, getting on the highway. And I would say the power steering was literally out for 1,200 out of the 1,700 miles. So I only had normal steering for like 500 miles. But I got here, and I remember the first thing I did was unload my car, bring it to the dealership, and the only thing they changed was the battery. So I literally could have stopped in a dealership that I was passing by or anything and just got a new battery, and I would have been perfectly fine, and I would have been on my way the whole way perfectly fine if I would have just stopped at a dealership and looked at the problem. But thankfully I talked to the dealership. I was like, oh my God, is it fine that I drove the car that far? And he was like, oh my God, yeah. The only thing that was probably a headache was how many times it was failing you. So, and that's the funny part. I went to the dealership and I was so worried that, I knew that it was going to be what I said was wrong with it. And turns out it actually wasn't, because a few months later, those same problems kept happening again and again and again. So I went back to the dealership. He did something, I remember, but he was like, oh, if it's not this and it still happens, bring it back because we have to do something else. And it was going to be a little bit more time intensive for them to do. and everything. So we said just try it out for now, see if that works, because he didn't really want to go through that. But unfortunately, I sold the car during that point and traded in for the TRX I have outside now. But guys, so I just want to come out here and tell you guys a funny little story when I drove my car 1,700 miles from Chicago to Arizona. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And if you made it this far in the video, I just want to say we're going to be doing another giveaway at 3,000 subscribers, another free cop radar. So make sure you guys are subscribed and you do comment. The rules are going to be a little bit different this time, just because I want to make sure everyone's entered and it's a little bit more fair, because I only picked one person from a comment last video, but I want to make sure everyone has a chance. So God bless everyone, and stay tuned for more videos, because we're going to do some awesome things with this Demon 170 behind me. We got Bradford Race School coming up. We're going to do a 2-day event, learn how to drag race before I go take this thing out on the drag strip. I want to get comfortable, because this thing's got way too much power for me. And I know that. I test drove a 800 horsepower jailbreak one time, and I was making this thing do fishtails like no other, and that thing was scaring me at 800 horsepower. I'm not even sure I had the red key either at the time either. So that's even crazier part. But stay tuned, because awesome things planned with this. I really